Out of patience. On to ruse!
If there was ever a saying that perfectly captured the superhero genre, it's about the first impression being the last impression.
First impressions last.
Perfect example being the massive impact the first Iron Man movie in 2008 made, leading to MCU's humongous success. So today, we discuss the best moments when superheroes made a legendary first impression in the movies. Now, you know I'm not really a fan of this movie, but Gambit's introduction was easily one of its highlights.
Are you Remy LeBeau?
Do I owe you money?
If you're meeting someone as awesome as the freaking Wolverine, you need to show some respect, right? After all, he has earned it, hasn't he? However, Gambit has his own way of assessing individuals, and that's through the chains they wear around their necks. It only took him his first line to gain favour with the audience, and the fact that he smacked down Hugh Jackman using nothing but a bunch of cards was impressive. But on a serious note, Logan has got an adamantium skeleton. I mean, just how tough are those cards? It was a flex, and I for one am very disappointed that we never got to see that solo Gambit movie which had Channing Tatum playing the lead. Well, at least he gave us 21 Jump Street, right? Even Kanye West liked that movie.
Now, Bub, you listen to me.
Do you remember the time when Disney was trying to push Thor: Love and Thunder for an Oscar nomination?
Oh, wow!
Yeah, that had its own viral movement. I might love roasting this movie, but Jane Foster's epic introduction as the mighty Thor is an acceptable exception. Come on, I know you're not going to admit it, but the way she got Mjolnir to split into tiny pieces and take down that army was pretty badass. Even Thor himself never thought of something so smooth. Natalie Portman isn't really the buffest of women out there, but she put in a lot of work for this role and it shows. Honestly speaking, Jane Foster really felt like a side character rather than a genuine love interest in the previous Thor movies. No, seriously, Chris Hemsworth had to kiss his own wife during the ending of The Dark World. That's how neglected the character was. So yeah, you might call me biased, but I can safely say that a lot of people were left impressed by her swagger.
Mjolnir!
The consensus around the Eternals may not have improved by much since its initial release, but I think we can all agree that it had some neat moments. Just look at their first fight against the Deviants. People don't usually appreciate such scenes because of the heavy use of CGI, but to choreograph and direct an intense battle with around 10 key characters is no walk in the park. Despite that, we still managed to get an impressive sequence that not only showcased each of the Eternals' powers, but also gave us some context around the relations they shared with each other. Of course, there were some standouts like Athena, Gilgamesh and Kingo, but the most impressive Eternal was without a doubt Icarus. Sure, he might be a Superman copycat, but the way he defeated Deviant was an absolute mark of dominance. If only the box office could replicate the same vibe, eh? If you've been around long enough, then you'll know I'm not always about giant explosions or excessive action sequences. Sometimes a little dance is more than enough to grab my attention and admiration.
Listen to these words. Ooh, child.
You idiot.
That's exactly what Star-Lord does in his very first scene, which also happened to be our introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy. And to be honest, I went into the cinema halls expecting nothing, but came out with a giant smile on my face. Peter Quill's opening dance sequence kind of summed up the whole premise of the franchise without even needing a single line of dialogue. It made a good first impression, otherwise it wouldn't have been getting a Christmas special and a third installment. But you want to know what the best part was? We were still unaware of how stupid Star-Lord was at the time. That moment came 6 years later in Infinity War.
No, you did not!
Before we move on, like, share and subscribe to leave a good impression in my heart.
Oh my God!
Well, this is an easy one, right? I don't even need to justify why Scarlett Johansson would make such a great first impression. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? She's got an amazing acting ability. Alright, jokes aside, an assassin like Natasha Romanoff has been trained all her life to look attractive, which is exactly why she's earned the name Black Widow. However, her charm wasn't the only thing going for her over here. Just look how she owns Happy and turns him sad, all within the blink of an eye. Bro got brutally violated, and not in the way he would have liked. With everything said and done, Natasha still managed to prove her worth, and I'm sure Tony Stark was watching every second of her performance. Sorry bro, they don't sell Black Widows at your local Walmart, but knowing Iron Man, he might have even tried making a clone at some point in the MCU. I did just tell you that I wasn't a fan of this movie, and yet here it is with the second entry on my list. I might have played myself in this situation, but Wade Wilson sure as heck wasn't playing when he sliced through all those guards in his first scene. I mean, technically speaking, the fake Deadpool made his introduction in the elevator, blabbing his mouth away.
Elevator with 5 guys on a high-protein diet.
Oh, wait. Dreams really do come true. Just shut it.
But the scene directly transitions into this epic encounter, so I guess it still counts. In hindsight, Wolverine would have probably been more suited to this role because of his healing powers, but Wade didn't even give him a chance to blink. Bro outdid the OG Deadpool when it came to sword skills because he managed to deflect all those bullets without a single scratch. Well, I guess you gotta lose some to win some, eh?
No, you're not cops. Hey, what's with this Give to Youngsters place?
That's an old card.
We're all thankful to guys like Professor X, Magneto, Wolverine, and to some extent Beast as well. They were all part of the OG X-Men trilogy and played a key role in making the franchise what it is today. So Quicksilver's brutal humiliation during their first ever meeting kinda took us all by surprise. The man had no regard whatsoever about his reputation and tore into all of them without a single care in the world. I mean, he shamelessly stole a wallet and even called out the legends for renting a car. Just look at their faces, will you? They're all bamboozled like those doggo memes you just keep seeing on TikTok and Instagram. I was very impressed by the tricky quickie because of his nonchalant attitude and smooth talking. It may not have been a great first impression for him in front of the movie's characters, but he easily won us all over in the real world.
You guys won. I didn't do anything.
Patience. Under ruse!
Spider-Man is without a doubt Marvel's most profitable character.
It's not always about the money, Spider-Man.
It's not a joke, guys. Sony's making some big bucks because of their decision to purchase the rights to our very own Peter Parker. This kind of dampened the mood for MCU fans because we were starved of Spidey content ever since the release of The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Luckily, all of that changed in Captain America's Civil War when our favourite web crawler made an epic introduction by stealing Steve Rogers' very own shield. Say what you will about Tom Holland, the man sure knows how to act like a teenager. It wasn't just the grand scale of his entrance into the MCU. Spider-Man did an amazing job at the airport battle and even helped take down giant Ant-Man. There was absolutely no way I was going to leave him out of my top 3.
Oh god.
Look at that, I've got back-to-back entries from the same movie. Black Panther immediately became a fan favourite even before his first solo movie, and for good reason too. If your first ever fight scene involves making the Winter Soldier look like a sissy, you know you have my approval. The best part is that T'Challa doesn't even say anything during this battle. He only focuses on his opponent and makes him sweat for his life. Just look at these moves, bro. How on earth is a metal arm going to compete against that? I got a lot of Sigma male vibes from this scene because it's straightforward when you think of it. The Black Panther had a mission to avenge his father and had no intention of settling for less. Man, we really lost a true legend in Chadwick Boseman. Rest in power, man. Be honest with me here. Did you know that Blade was a Marvel character? Let me know in the comments.
That is not true.
1998's Blade was indeed the movie that kicked off a series of impressive Marvel flicks, and this was before the MCU was even a thing. I'm talking about IPs like X-Men and Spider-Man. So yeah, Wesley Snipes was a big deal back then. On top of that, if you were to consider the scene that introduced Blade to us, well, it's nothing short of perfection. The vampire anti-hero blasts his way through an entire army of his own kind, which kind of makes the whole thing more badass for some reason. The flexing is non-stop throughout the entirety of the battle, and there wasn't a single moment where I felt bored. It takes a special kind of character to keep you engaged without flinching, and this is exactly why Blade tops today's list. Firstly, when it comes to superheroes, Scarlet Witch is my favourite. Few people have experienced character development like she has, so if you'd like a brief recap of how badass she can be, then you've got to check this video out right here.